is he doing? Am I being mind fucked right now? Excuse my curse words. Is this correct? He's on the wrong side. See, this is the right thing. Where is he going? Ah! 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 Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
We begin with breaking news in Diamond Bar. A wrong-way driver is accused of causing a horrific accident, leaving at least half a dozen people dead.
One of them is the driver of that red Camaro. As you just heard, she is in stable condition at this hour.
Suspected of drinking, then driving the wrong way down the 60 freeway this morning. The impact was so intense, victims were thrown from the cars, and the vehicles looked like they'd been through a compactor. But faces felony, DUI, and manslaughter charges for what happened. Mangled metal and heartbreak at an accident scene that was, by all accounts, avoidable.
I'm not saying this for no publicity. I don't care about all these little videos and all that old type of stuff. I'm saying this because I've seen total destruction. I've seen casualties. I've seen fatalities out here. And all it takes is one drink. Police can make 1,000,001 mistakes, but you only can make one. Believe that. You know, if this video should ever go viral or just 5 or 6 people see it and it's some youngsters, what I would share with them is a lot of your icons and a lot of people that you admire today that's in the music industry, the entertainment field, they're getting these $1,000,000 contracts and to promote alcohol. You got some of these artists who have made enough money to buy into their own brand of alcohol. What you fail to realize is these are the same ones that can drink all night, but downstairs they have a chauffeur that would take them to their next destination safely. Whereas you're trying to emulate them, you're trying to be like them, and what you do is you leave from out there after spending $100 on a bottle of something that you know you can't afford. You get in your car and you go a half a block and you run over somebody, hit and run, or you tear up your car, you tear up your mama's car or something like that. Don't believe the hype, man. Don't believe the hype, bro.
June 22nd, approximately 3:38 a.m., my mother, her pastor, and a deacon were traveling from church on their way home back to Lancaster, Antelope Valley. And a DUI Bradford Pate turned facing traffic northbound lanes of the 14 freeway and had a head-on collision with their vehicle. I stood by my mama every day, all day. Today is her birthday. It's the first year I ever get to not say really happy birthday face to face.
When you get involved in a DUI crash, there's some serious implications, and those aren't just a crash. There was a very serious traffic collision in the Pomona area where 5 people were killed, and allegedly the driver was driving under the influence of alcohol, driving the wrong way on the freeway. But when you really think about that, that's 5 families that can be affected by the fact that 5 people were killed. You know, you have friends, you have loved ones that have to mourn the death of those people that were victims in that crash. And when you take that approach, that it's not just about you and you getting hurt or injured, but it's all about all the other people and all the other people who have to mourn the loss of a loved one or take care of a loved one who's critically injured. How it's going to affect your parents. It is not the natural order of things for parents to have to bury their kids. Kids are supposed to bury their parents. It's the natural order of things. And when a young person is killed in a traffic collision, particularly one that's involved with DUI, it's tragic. It really is.
I would say about 50% of the cases that we see as trauma patients have something to do with alcohol. We've seen many patients where family members have had to say goodbye, and some of them don't come back alive. It's a very emotionally traumatic thing to have to witness and to participate in.
A young lady, I think she was in her late teens, 19 or so, and she had been in a major car accident, drinking involved, and major head injury, head trauma, and she wound up in our intensive care unit, and eventually was declared brain dead, and eventually the family decided to donate her organs to our organ harvest teams. And you can only imagine one of the saddest moments you'll ever experience as you watch family members say goodbye to a young child that they never thought they would have to bury as they're being taken off to operating room to have their organs moved. And I don't think that anyone that has any feelings or heart can't be affected by that final scene where families saying goodbye as we roll away towards the operating room. And knowing that situation could have been prevented, that is one of the hardest things that you ever have to deal with.
He touched Pastor. Pastor was DOA, dead on scene. He can hear screaming from the back seat. He could not get to that passenger because of the impact of the car, which was Deacon Wiles, and he went around to the other side of the car, which is the front seat passenger where my mother was sitting, and all he can see is abnormal shaking and movement at the mouth.
I found out from her son, his attorney was saying something like, well, he only had 4 drinks and 7 shots. 4 drinks and 7 shots of alcohol, and he got behind the wheel of his car. And of all people, hit the church lady with the pastor. So I think he's looking at 45 to life because he refused the 15 to life. He thinks he has a case because, as his lawyer stated, he only had 4 drinks and 7 shots.
Number one, there's an arrest. Right? You have an arrest on your record. You're charged with a misdemeanor. You're going to lose your license for a time. You're going to lose your license for, your license is going to be, if you have a California license, confiscated by the officer. Ultimately, you're going to have to stand in front of a judge and be sentenced. There's certainly a monetary consequence to the tune of probably about $10,000. Now, if you're involved in a crash where someone's hurt or killed, that takes that misdemeanor to a felony for which you could potentially go to state prison for. In a case where someone's killed, in addition to felony DUI, you have vehicular manslaughter. Because you're driving on the influence of alcohol and you cause a collision for which someone is killed. When you really think about that scenario, here's a scenario that started with a person just going out to have fun to celebrate their 21st birthday, and it ends with a person being held accountable for a serious crime, manslaughter. There's no other crime, or not, at least that I can think of, that has that potential to span that spectrum of going from something that's just having fun to, having something affect the rest of your life because of a bad decision. So.
This is my mother, right here, Judith Irene Nelson. Gosh, I must have been about 7 years old here, looking like a little tomboy. This is my mother, and this is my father. My father's black, my mother's white. And there I am, again looking like a little tomboy. My mother was killed by a hit-and-run drunk driver in Hollywood. And I dropped her off that night at her friend's house. And she was gone. Her birthday was Tuesday. And Wednesday morning, she was killed. And for a long time, I stayed really mad at that guy. I stayed really mad and angry at that man. Because I felt like I just had a chance to get her back. And he took her from me. He took her from me. He couldn't even stop. Couldn't even stop. Just kept going.
so many people can talk to you until they're blue in the face and say you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And you hear it on television, you hear it in ads, you hear it at school, but ultimately you have to make the final decision about how you want to live your life. And if you want to make a positive contribution by the way you live your life to society, or if you want to make a negative contribution.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. A few minutes of your time can change the rest of your life. That one decision that you make can alter the rest of your life as well as the lives of many other people. You have no idea.
It's really simple. Just don't drink and drive. If you're going to go out, have a good time. Have a good time. We're not saying don't have a good time, but we're saying designated driver. All right. But make sure that you know how you're going to get home before you go out.
If you don't do nothing else, pass your keys, call a cab. There's different numbers you can call to get a ride home. DUI is not the way to go at all. It's not worth it. You can be in the same predicament as I am or in the same predicament as Brad Payton.
Some people that just have the audacity to say, oh, that was him, that ain't me. I drive better when I drink. Okay, so when it happened to you, I just want you to remember one thing. This dark-skinned dude from Watts, he warned me, and I failed to take heed to the ominous warning. This is coffee, buddy. I bet you I'm driving home tonight.